Happy Friday, guys. Welcome in. We are here to talk about some hockey for Friday. A little bit of Saturday slate as well. Maybe we'll mix in some hardwood here with some college, maybe some NBA sprinkling, but definitely talking some football this week. And happy to have good friend Jeff Dawson with me to close out the week. Jeff, I kind of like these Friday spots, man. Good to see you.
Great to see you. I absolutely love them. Generally, you and I connect on Tuesday, depending upon schedules, and there was a Tuesday, Thursday. But I love the Friday because it allows us not only to talk about the Friday night slate, but, you know, if we pull up a certain screen, we can look ahead to Saturday. It allows us to talk championship football. I mean, it gives us a lot of windows of opportunity. So I love the Friday spot.
Well, it's good to be here with you breaking down some games. And we were talking before we went live here about some of these team totals and spots for the Friday slate. I'm seeing 4 games on tap for the NHL here. And, you know, what's nice is that even though it's a small board, we've actually got some decent games. No minus 600 favorites tonight, actually. We got some decent ones here. Panthers, Penguins, Knights, Rangers, Kings, Avalanche, Blues, and Kraken. Anybody that knows me and especially knows Jeff know that we like the team totals. And I'll say that some of these team totals, I've been getting burnt recently. You know, I'm taking a team to get to 4, Jeff. They're landing on 3, but winning those games as of late. But what I've tried to tell myself with the prop betting world, especially with hockey and different sports, is you stick the course. You stick with it. Sometimes you want to learn and, you know, see what teams are letting you down. But at the same time, you want to stick with it. I'm not going anywhere with the team totals. What's an update for you with your clients with hockey? I know you've kind of been lower in volume before the All-Star break, but anything you're seeing right now on the ice?
As we talked backstage, I don't know if it's not a mind block. In other words, we read the board 24/7, and if it hits the system, we release it. It's quite simple. I hate leaving plays on the desk that hit the system because I don't think I'm being fair to the clients. With that said, I've seen, you know, there hasn't been any 7s at all this week. There's been very few 6.5s, mostly all 6s, and an occasion 5.5. So almost like the mental block, like we know we're getting close to the All-Star break. Vegas knows that these games are going to be lower scoring. And as you talked about, how many times have we given each other high fives, you know, just get to 4 and cash a ticket and the team loses 5-4 or 6-4. Well, they're not happening as frequently. We're seeing a lot of 3-2, not getting the empty nets, 2-1, 3-0s. Had a good conversation. Excuse me, with a good friend, colleague. You know him very, very well. And he was talking about the team totals, Andrew. And he's like, you know, I just don't like them. And I'm like, well, why don't you like them? And he goes, I don't know. And I had to tell him why he didn't like them. Mm-hmm. And I says, because when you bet an under or over, or you bet a side, there's a finality. You know, if Bedard scores on a breakaway and you win 3-2 and you had the Blackhawks, there's that. Yes. You know, you're a part of it. But when you're not a part of, in other words, we go over 3.5, we get 4 goals in the first. It's just like, all right, I cashed the ticket. There's no euphoria. You change the channel. And to try to get people wired like that is really, really hard, Andrew.
They like to feel like they're a part of the team when they're betting. For that 60 minutes, they're a part of it. And it's a real good example because, like you said, once that 4th goal happens, they're not getting that game winner feeling. They're just, okay, I cashed the ticket, on to the next.
Yes.
There's no part of the team aspect whatsoever. They're robots to you. I want you guys to get me 4 goals, get me there, and I'm happy with you. And speaking of which, we'll look at this Florida and Pittsburgh game. I'm seeing 6 as the total, minus 130 for the road team here. Looking at some of these team totals, you can get upwards of plus 120 for the Panthers to get to 4, for the Penguins to get to 4. I'm seeing close to 165 for them. What do you think about this one? Like, I think a lot of people might be surprised, even if it's Tristan Jarry or Vejmelka in net. I've actually been impressed with the Penguins' defense, despite some bumps in the road. I was saying to you earlier, I kind of actually lean towards the home dog in this one. Small lean to the under as well, but I just think the biggest thing for the Penguins has been their secondary scoring hasn't been there. And that's always during Crosby's career. As much as you know, I'm a big fan of him. He's always had a really good supporting cast, and I'm not taking anything away from him. But right now, if it's not him, Gensel, Rust, Malkin, Carlson, who else is it? Like their bottom six is hurting big time. I'm a little tempted by the home dog. What do you think?
I'm looking right now at Wager Talk. Your free odds. If you're watching and listening, you want to go there. Wager Talk /free odds. I'm looking at some opening numbers and current numbers right now at the Circa. 130, as you said, plus 119 on Pittsburgh. It opened overnight at a 6.5 handle, down to a 6. So I think a lot of people have the same thought to you as an under. But if you break it down to the team totals on this page here, Bet Online has Florida 3.5 under -145 and Heritage 3.5 under -142. But Pittsburgh 2.5 over -155 or 2.5 over -150. If you go to, let's say, a DraftKings, you can have the alternate line to say, I'm not laying the 150, but I'll get it to 3.5 and I'll take the plus money. So to me, the eyes are saying if you like Florida and you don't want to lay the -140 or whatever the number you're getting at, you can take the shot at plus 122 to get to 4. But I kind of sort of do like where your eyes are with the Penguins stealing this one.
It's just it's one of those things where it's the last game before All-Star break for a lot of these teams that aren't playing tomorrow, and you look at some of them that are ready to get going to the Bahamas or Mexico or wherever they're going over the next handful of days, over the next week. Some teams don't play until the 5th or 6th of February after today or tomorrow or a couple games from now. So do you like the home teams? Do you like the road teams? A lot of times I do look for the road teams. They're standing on business. They're on a business trip. The teams at home are still dealing with distractions and maybe kind of looking forward to getting away a little bit earlier. But yeah, I'm hopeful that Pittsburgh can put forward a good effort. And just taking a look at some of the games recently for them, giving up 5 goals to Arizona, 3 against Vegas, 3 against Carolina, 4 against Vancouver. This team's only won 4 of their last 10 games. And what I don't like about them, though, is that they've lost some games that have been against not very strong teams. However, I do think that something I've used and I guess it'll segue me into the New York game. We'll talk about that one, is a road trip, right? What do you hear in every single sport, right? Fade a team first game back at home after a road trip. But I think that you and I have spoken about it before. It's not just any road trip. It's a successful road trip, right? I think teams that are distracted are usually the teams that are satisfied. The teams that are coming off a 1-3 West Coast swing or winless West Coast swing, or with New York, I believe it's 2-2 after unfortunately giving up 3 straight goals to the San Jose Sharks and losing that one in overtime. I don't think it'll be a flat spot for the Penguins after losing to Vegas and Arizona. Just the same way I don't think it's a flat spot for the Rangers to lose to, certain teams like Vegas and to lose to the San Jose Sharks at the end of their trip. So what do you think about that? Like, everyone says fade the team at the end of the road back at home. But to me, that only applies to a team that absolutely crushed it.
Yeah, I always bring up the Bronx Zoo. I bring up the fact those, in baseball terms, those 10, 12 game road trips, and then you get back home late at night. They like to say that the guys come back the next night with sea legs. They haven't seen the wife, the kids. They're probably up a little later that night than normal. Always take a look at that team coming back. And to kind of parallel what you're saying, the other part is the last game of a long road trip. Let's say the team was very successful. It's the last game. Let's say the Bruins are on the last game of a 6-game road trip. They're 4-1, and now they're going to Anaheim. They're already packed and they're ready to go back home. Even if they lose, it'll be a 4-2. So I think you're spot on. How did they perform during that road trip? If they had a bad road trip and it's their first game back, well, they want to correct their losses and be, on point. So I agree exactly what you're saying, and I think you can look at it both sides, Andrew.
For sure. I think that, when you look at all these cliches that get thrown around the betting industry, I think it's important to dig deep on these and not assume that they're automatic fades or automatic bet on situations. What was it? Ralph Michaels, he found one that was kind of interesting. I think you'd like, Jeff. It was for baseball. So he said that the biggest time that teams don't do well after a long road trip is if they have a break between games. So let's say they get home and they have a night's sleep and then they play the next day. They're way worse, actually, than if they just got home and then played that night, because you have time to let those distractions settle in. If you just play right away when you get home, then it just feels like you're still on the road. If you get time to jump into family mode, and I'm telling you, like the numbers that he said, this is from a show I watched, like in the summer, he was breaking this down. It's almost like the more time the players had with their families or to go out, partying or whatever they're doing, the worse they perform. But if they got back home right away and didn't have any distractions, they were playing well. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's almost like that muscle memory. Hey, we just played 11 games on the road. We landed at 4 a.m., had breakfast at home, caught a 2-hour nap, and then boom, I'm back at the field at 3 o'clock for a 7 o'clock start. It's just, muscle memory. But when you have that one day in between, it's almost like that delayed jet lag, and in come the sea legs because you were probably doing something that you shouldn't have been doing. Well, you're catching up on lost time. Yeah. How's that sound?
Yeah, definitely. I'll tell you, in my personal life right now, I'm dealing with that with the I coach volleyball, as you know, and the players, like when you have the practice gym, it's a smaller gym we're playing in, or we go to a certain area. If we go off to a tournament in a big area where there's like massive, there's like this huge area, like rec facility where there's 4 different courts set up at once. They have to get these big eyes on the players. They're got to see all the people watching, all the different parents, how many other kids there are. It's like, guys, you're still playing the same game. I'm trying to explain to these kids, it does not matter if there's 100 people in the gym or if there's 4 people watching you. It does not matter. But the distractions are always going to be a thing. But having said that all, I do like the Rangers on their team total over. It's one that I do like for tonight, Jeff. Hoping on Freaky Friday to get myself a winner. And with this Rangers team, look, you don't want to catch a falling knife, and it's not like they've been playing horribly, but you'd think you'll get something out of this veteran-built team after that horrible loss to the Sharks, and they've had some time since then. Vegas, they got called out after their Devils game that their coach said they looked like a bunch of beer league players. And then the next game, they beat the Islanders and Patrick Roy in regulation 3-2. So I'm going to go ahead here, and I know the defense has been okay for this team. I also like the fact that the Vegas Golden Knights at home took down the Rangers 5-1 back on the 18th, which wasn't that long ago. So what do you think about this one?
No, the more you're talking, the more you're opening up my eyes. Nice revenge spot again. And the fact is that I think that was a 6 under over as well at the Fortress. And we're looking at right now a 6 as well. So maybe it will be your 4-2, 5-1 payback there. Last game, as you said before the break, Rangers want to, end the quote unquote first half of the season on a high note. So I like where your eyes are there, Andrew.
Next couple games here, next 2 games, Kings and Avalanche, Blues, Kraken. I mean, if you talked to me 2 months ago or even a month ago, I would have told you this Kings Avalanche game is going to be the game of the week. But right now, LA can't win. They can't do anything. And surprisingly, the only win they have as of late was against the Hurricanes, who are playing great hockey, which is shocking to me. Kings, Avalanche, the Avalanche playing so well at home right now. Anything stick out to you in this one?
An opening number of 145, now down to 132, a 6.5 under minus 15 cents. Not going to take the Kings team total over 2.5 minus 152. Again, why lay minus 145 on Colorado when I can get plus 109 for them to get to 4 or better? So if I am going to play this game, I would definitely take the Avs team total over 3.5 at plus 109.
I couldn't argue that at all. I mean, the way this team's playing, especially the way they're playing at home, hometown boy McKinnon's playing unbelievable, especially at home. He has more multi-point games at home this season than 0-point games, which is just crazy to see. Coming off a did you see what happened his last game when he had the 4-goal performance? They were girls were throwing bra and underwear on the ice. I couldn't believe that. They didn't have a hat on, so they had to throw something else on the ice. Crazy stuff. And even McKinnon was just like, that's just kind of weird. But he's having a good season.
Yeah, they're going to be obviously a tough outcome playoff season. The Wild Wild West might be last man standing because, every week there seems like there's a new sheriff in town. I mean, the Oilers, the one team that doesn't want an all-star break, they just keep playing. Let me keep playing. Just phenomenal what they've done. And then, of course, you still got the defending champs with Vegas, and we talk about the Kings, talk about Dallas. So, and I didn't even mention Winnipeg or Calgary. So,
yeah, I mean, Calgary, I don't know what their deal is right now. We'll see what has to happen. That they're probably a team that definitely does need the break. Jeff, I'm probably going to pass on the Seattle game. They've this Blues team just has my number. I won with them last week, which was nice, but I feel like you just need to fall on the right day where they show up. But Seattle, one thing I've noticed, this is kind of the price range they play well in. Like, they're not really a team you want in the pick'em range. Whenever they're hefty favorites and the books think they're going to win, they usually listen. You know what I mean? Like, some teams, you want to stay clear of them when they're big favorites. Like the Leafs, I'd almost rather bet on them at a pick'em price than I would at minus 200. Is there anything that would stick out to you, or is it pass for you as well?
You're talking my language here. It was 140 this morning overnight. Now 163. Okay. Listen, this is not that playoff Seattle team that had an amazing run. Not that they're playing bad, but they're not playing superior hockey as well. And as you said, the Blues have been almost one of those kryptonites where if you bet on them, they lose. You bet against them and they win outright 3-1. Looking at some team totals, could get really, really cute here, Andrew. The St. Louis Blues team total is 2.5 over minus 121. I could shock the world right now and say St. Louis team total under 2.5 and get that at plus 101. Or I could say, you know what? I'm not going to lay the 160 on Seattle tonight, but I will take them to get to 4. And by doing that, I'm going to get their team total over 3.5 at plus 116. So there's 2 opportunities there for plus money on the team total side, which does intrigue me.
And, I think that when Seattle does win games in this range, like I said, they usually put up goals. Like, they have been a good defensive team that can get a lead and relax with it. But at the same time, they have been a team as well that you can kind of count on in spots like this to get you that 4th goal, to get you over that hoop that you and I always talk about. We hate the number 3. We need 4. 4 is our magic number. So we got a few people here with us watching along live. Thank you to all of you that are here. Please subscribe to the channel. Helps me out. I know subscribers aren't really as important to the algorithm anymore like they used to be, but I will appreciate it. And If you hit the bell, you can be notified when we go live. Jeff and I are going live at least once a week, and we're doing more pick videos. Doesn't matter if it's a 5-minute video or a 20-minute video, going live more here on the channel. Jeff, I'm going to throw one out here that I'm going to lock in on tonight, and I'm going to look at the Cleveland. I think I'm going to look at the Cleveland Cavaliers team total up and over 116.5 against the Milwaukee Bucks. This Milwaukee Bucks team has had more coaches in the last handful of years than the amount of pair of shoes that I own. I mean, it's unbelievable. The fact is, you've got a team that just can't get it right with their coaches. Then they go ahead and hire Doc Rivers. I have been a very low volume NBA guy, but when I look at this Cleveland team, and what's cool is they played in the 17th, the 24th, and now they're playing again. This will be the third time they play in a handful of days, and apparently it's going to be the third coach they have, which is unbelievable. You had the old coach, you had an assistant, then you had Doc Rivers. So to me, even if Milwaukee's defense is improving, or excuse me, their offense improves, I still don't trust their defense. They're hanging this number at 116.5. The last meeting, Cleveland got 116 on the dot. The time before, Cleveland scored 135 points.
And who was that against?
That was against Milwaukee. So, I mean, like I said, this is going to be their third meeting. One time they lost by the hook, and one time Cleveland went way over it. I don't know. I could be completely off, but I think that people like to bet on teams when they fire their coach and it's a new coach. And I get that. I do it in the NHL, but I'm jumping all over this here. No Darius Garland. I understand that. No Mobley, but they've been still playing pretty well. I'm jumping on the team total. Look at some of these numbers that Cleveland's been able to put up, even against the Celtics, who have a respectable defense, 135 points, 129 on G State, 143. Excuse me, those are points allowed for Milwaukee. But this Cleveland team, I think I'm confident that they can get after Milwaukee's defense. Like I said, even if their offense is playing well, you and I, as team total bettors, we don't really care what their offense does.
I was doing a live show, not yesterday, I think it was the Thursday before, and as we were doing the show, I think it was the closing bell with Riley Magnuson, I get the alert up that says Giannis is out, and I said it aloud to the show, and people, Riley's like, I don't see that. Where do you see that? I was like, well, one of my sources is usually ahead of by a couple minutes, and one of the gentlemen listening jumped to his books and he grabbed Cleveland plus 4.5. And then once the book got up to it, I think Cleveland closed -1. So he had, like a 6.5.5 point difference. Cleveland won by 30 or 35, whatever the number is. So in the back of my mind, I'm looking at this. Something smells because the opening number was 6. It's now 5.5. It's Friday night in the NBA. You call it, Freaky Friday. I always call it Fade the Public Friday. People get paid today. Most people get paid today. And instead of going and taking care of your bills and everything first, hey, how can I turn my check of $750 this week and turn it into $1750 before I have to go home to the wife? Yeah. So they tend to get a little outside their boundaries or over their skis on Fridays because they got a little flash cash, they think. But this number dropped to 5.5, and this is a perfect bounce back spot, payback spot, yet the number's going the other way. So you might be onto something here, Andrew.
And how often do you see like a 2 out of 3 mini series during the middle of the season? Like, I find that so interesting. Cleveland takes game 1. Like you said, they closed -2. And then just 2 days ago, they closed plus 6.5 dogs. They lose that one by 10, but still score 116. So that's why I'm staying away from the spread in this one and just narrowing in on them as a team altogether. Especially in this spot, like I said, I have no doubt about it that Milwaukee can score, but it's their defense. And I find that I'm not saying it's only in blowouts. I find that if Milwaukee thinks they're going to win a game, like if they're up by 10, let's say, their defense is abysmal. Like they're the kind of team where even if they cover the point spread, they could still have the other team hit their team total over. So anyway, that's just one I wanted to bring up. I'm not much of an NBA guy altogether. Raptors, they just continue to fall. Plus 7.5 is their number now at home tonight. Totals at as high as 236. It's crazy to me as a Raptors fan to look back at the last time when they won the championship with Kawhi, Marc Gasol, Danny Green, Kyle Lowry, all those guys, and they're all gone. Norman Powell, OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam. I mean, they're trying to trade everybody. They want everybody gone, and it's too bad. It pretty much like open business for everybody. If they're not Scotty Barnes or RJ Barrett or Quickly, then that they're trying to shop them. But their defense hasn't really been impressive to me. But anything on the hardwood for college or NBA you could give out before we maybe do one or two NFL?
I'm trying to find something here amongst the cracks. I guess what finds the most intriguing number that I find tonight is San Antonio at home against Portland, the two dregs of the NBA. When do you see the Spurs ever a favorite? Never. And I don't see Ginobili playing. I don't see Tim Duncan playing. And it's kind of funny here, the Admiral himself here. It opened at 2. It's now 4 at Circa. So I keep an eye, excuse me, on the Spurs tonight. It's 3.5 on the Vegas Strip. Shop around if you can get a 3.5 by the hook to 3. I'm not going to suggest the money line because the assumption is it's probably around 145-ish. It's a little too steep for my liking. But I think the Spurs, let's say I'll call it -3 tonight against Portland, get it done.
And Portland's defense has just been embarrassing. The other day I was on a show, and as you know, I don't make many client releases with the NBA, but I was breaking down the game, and I just said, if the day ends in Y, you should probably take the over in a Portland game because their defense is so bad. So good stuff there. I'll follow along with that one. The San Antonio Spurs, and they probably wish they had Ginobili, but guess what? Coach Pop got his wish, and he got the number 1 overall pick, so I'm sure he's happy about that. Look, I know you've got your clients, your service. You do all kinds of shows as well. I don't want to try and get everything out of you. I don't want to squeeze every play out of you, but Chiefs, Ravens, Lions, Niners. I'm going to mention a couple props that I like, but is there anything that you can give us before we wrap things up?
Listen, I don't hold back, and I'm just going to be an open book here. I am truly a numbers guy, and I always talk and preach about respecting the open-end numbers because Vegas knows which way the numbers are going to go. So if we open a number this way, we're going to get money on this side. If we open the number this way, we're going to get money on the other side. So I will just announce to the world this. The 49ers opened up at 6.5. When you open up the 49ers at 6.5, you're going to get 49er money. If they wanted the Lions money, they would have opened it at 7.5 because then it went to 7, maybe to 6.5, then it went back and forth. The Ravens and the Chiefs opened up at 3.5. Go back a week prior, Buffalo was 2.5 point favorites. There's only one way 2.5 is going to go, and it did to 3. Well, at 3.5, it didn't go back to 3. It now is at 4. Mark Andrews is playing. If you ask me who's in the Super Bowl today, I will say it is the 49ers versus the Ravens. I do believe that's how it's going to be. Now, I know a lot of people that are getting cute and they're playing teases. They're going to tease San Fran down to just win, and they're going to take the Chiefs up to 9.5 or 10. I mean, you're going to give Mahomes the ball with a chance. Hey, if they're losing to backdoor, if they're losing with a chance to win. So I understand all aspects of it. If you want to get cute and you want some action, here's what I'll tell all the watching. Listen, I would just do a money line parlay on San Fran, and I would do it on the Ravens. I don't know exactly what that will bring out.
I'm seeing around even money, depending on where you shop.
Okay, so I'll give you an even money parlay. San Fran and the Ravens, they both win. They go to the Super Bowl, and it's an even parlay.
I like it. And 2 number 1 seats. It's what we all want to see. And this is the thing too, Jeff. Sometimes you hear that expression, the lights are too bright. The whole world is cheering for the Lions. But one thing I always say, and I'm a Packers fan, when a team wins a game that they might necessarily not have deserved to win, I'm not saying that not, maybe I'm a bit biased, but my whole point is the Niners didn't play their best game, right? They win the game anyway. Usually you don't get 2 subpar efforts in a row. So, I lean towards the Niners spread, miss the number on it. So you figure out, okay, how do you play this? You know what I mean? Do you tease them down? Do you do the money line parlay? Do I stick with the props that I like? But I lean towards that Niners side. That's where I'm looking for them. Maybe I'll figure out some type of play with the first half team totals, because I'm done with the first half spreads after what happened to Baltimore last week. It'll be just simply the team totals. What was I going to mention here? 11 straight games where George Kittle has had at least 4 targets. Last week, I cashed with him over 55.5 receiving. They bump his number up 5 yards to 60.5 here. Last week, Otton for the Buccaneers got 65 yards. And I think that, to me, this is an opportunity for Kittle to be another huge part of the game. I mean, since Halloween, he's averaged over 80 yards per game. He's been a huge impact here last week, going over it, whether it's the injury to Debo, whether it's all kinds of attention being on Ayuk or McCaffrey or other guys. I just think Kittle kind of goes under the radar. And the reason why I bring up that 4 targets, a minimum, he doesn't need much to get this number, Jeff. I find with Kittle, like when I watch these games, when the announcers get excited, there's Kittle with the 23-yard catch. It's not like he needs 5 or 6, catches to make a difference. If he gets a handful that are 15, 20 yards, it's all you really need to get over 60 yards. So that's one of my favorite plays here for this weekend is George Kittle. And maybe I'll just stick with that, because if I like the Niners, he has to do well, I think. And I'll probably be rocking with the money line in some way, shape, or form with that one. And I'm always trying to learn from people like yourself about the money line odds and parlaying and teasing and things like that. And that's the problem, is that I don't really tease totals, and it's a good opportunity here to look at teasing them down. But what else do you look at as the partner with the tease? And that's why, like you said, just to do that money line parlay is a nice way of looking at it. And also, people don't like to do this because, as you know, people like to have that money right away, right? But you could see, let's say there's an NHL game tomorrow. We'll take a quick look at the Saturday card. We can find, a lopsided game, Hurricanes against the Coyotes at home. They're minus 230. So you go ahead and put them, you parlay them next to the Niners. All of a sudden, you've got Hurricanes, Niners, minus 115. So people don't have to bet the parlay in the same day, is what I'm trying to say here. I know guys that do cross-sport parlay. And in my opinion, Jeff, cross-sport parlays are probably the best way to go, because, there's a million sports. I know guys that do golf matchups with NASCAR, with NBA player props. I mean, really, the more you can surround your portfolio with, the better. That way you aren't just prohibiting yourself to one sport. But I'm going to have to bet that now, right? The Hurricanes and Niners parlay. We'll bet our guy. Thanks, Jeff, for the parlay. There we go. Nebraska knows. I appreciate the parlay.
Go Cornhuskers, go. I probably well before your time, Nebraska, diehard Nebraska Cornhusker fan, Dr. Tom Osborne, Irving Fryer, when the wishbone was the wishbone. So great stuff. I'm going to just throw out, and I don't have the number in front of me here. Maybe you'll have it in front of you. I know everyone's going to focus on the Ravens game, the return of Mark Andrews. Well, the Ravens run a lot of double tight end sets, or they will run some double tight end sets, especially with Andrews there. And so Andrews will be the focal point. But Andrew, if you have it up in front of you, what is the anytime touchdown for Isaiah Likely?
Isaiah Likely, let's see here. I like what you're saying there with that one. He is plus 330.
So Mark Andrews is going to be the focal point. He's going to return. No one has seen him in ages. So as soon as he's on the field, he's going to attract a lot of attention from Kansas City. My point is when Harbaugh decides to run 2 sets, and the focal point again will come to Andrews, likely who served as a great replacement for Andrews, who is one of the most athletic tight ends in the game, might get a lesser defender. So plus 330 is money in my eyes. I will definitely have a piece of that one. So, again, pizza and beer or whatever, but keep an eye on Isaiah Likely anytime touchdown in that game.
Good stuff. And I got to look at this one here after you mentioned that. Likely his number for the receiving prop is 21.5. Mark Andrews, 34.5.
So right there, they're saying, quick math, 55 yards from the tight end spot. You said George Kittle was at 65. That 5-yard boost, again, most likely, maybe Debo doesn't play. If he does, maybe you do a decoy again. I'm not a doctor. I don't know what Debo we're going to get if he does play. And again, the same for Andrews. Not that they're looking past the Chiefs, but if they can get a healthy Mark Andrews to get his sea legs back, and they happen to be the Chiefs, now they got 2 weeks of practice to get him ready for the Super Bowl. So even though he is playing, don't discredit or discount Isaiah Likely.
Yeah, and I think all these decoys, and when there's healthy players, guys, I mean, how much will Mark Andrews be used? How much will Debo be used in his game? We'll find out once they get the game out there. But I think it's important for those guys to get out there simply just to be another weapon, I believe. Will they be at the 100%? We're not sure. Guys, make sure you follow Jeff on Twitter at EC Sports Invest. Anything going on for this weekend? Any more shows going on this weekend, Jeff, to let folks know about?
Yep, 5:00 tonight, and just over an hour, or just about an hour. The closing bell with Ron Marmolevsky. We'll be breaking down the NFL, the championship games. We'll be talking about the coaches carousel. If you're not following me, please head on over to Twitter, X, whatever we're calling it, to EC Sports Invest. If you have any questions, you can DM me right there. If you haven't gone to our website, head on over to eastcoastsportsinvestors.com. For as little as $3 a day. Look in your change drawer, look in your couch. We send you texts to your cell phone and emails, our daily breakdown, 1 to 3 plays a game. Saturdays, 2 or 3 alerts, depending upon the card. As Andrew and I both preach, we look for long-term, 1 day, 1 week, not even 1 month makes a service. We're on the start of our 9th year here, and we just keep growing and growing, Andrew.
Well, I love doing these chats. I always learn something from you, and hopefully we can bring some winners here on Freaky Friday. You never know what's going to happen on Fridays across the board, but NBA, college hoops, NHL, NFL, so much going on. Thanks for being here with me, Jeff. We'll see everybody on Tuesday over on Jeff's channel, East Coast Sports Investors.